Okay, we're now up to the mitzvah of Teichacha. We all know that the mitzvah of Teichacha is usually translated as reprimand or rebuke or to tell off. Actually, we really need to go to Lashon HaKodesh to reveal reality, and sadly, none of those are accurate. In fact, they are quite distracting from the reality. The word Teichacha, Rashi tells us in two places, Perek Chaf Daled, Pasuk Yud Daled, and then Pasuk Mem Daled in Bereshis, tells us that the Lashon of Teichacha is always a Lashon of Birur Dvarim. Birur Dvarim means clarifying items, clarifying details. Rashi also brings there, and you'll see it in Old French, it means to bring to light and to prove clearly. So the mitzvah of Teichacha is not about reprimand, it's not telling off. In fact, the word reprimand and telling off and rebuke suggest disappointment / anger / outrage. And the irony is that mitzvah of Teichacha has a number of conditions which we will look at. One of them is, if I'm angry, I don't have the mitzvah of Teichacha, because the child is going to be listening to my anger and not what I'm trying to help him see as clarification of what he did or said wrong. Instead, he's going to think, well, when I do that, that gets Rebbe angry or Daddy angry, so I have to be careful not to do that again to avoid his anger. But it's not because he's paying attention to the actual item that he did that was not right. So we're really going to get our grips in a very simple way on what the mitzvah of Teichacha really is. So interestingly, the mitzvah of Teichacha is not the first mitzvah I'm supposed to be doing. There are 3 stages, and Teichacha is the last stage. There are 2 levels that I'm supposed to try and reach for before I go to Teichacha. Level 1 is, how does Hashem want me to respond when I see something wrong that annoys me or upsets me? So strictly speaking, when something goes wrong in my own life, before we get to Teichacha, with my wife, with my own kids, with my finances, how does Hashem want me to respond? So it's a famous Mishnah, it's the last Mishnah in Brachas, Perek Tes Mishnah Hey, and you'll find it in Shulchan Aruch also, in Reish Chaf Beis, I believe it is, in Orach Chaim, which talks about how do you respond to adversity, how do you respond to difficulty. So, not talking about when someone does something wrong necessarily, we're going to see in a few moments why it's very closely related. So, number 1 of this is Bechol Midah U'Midah Shu Moeded Lecha. Whatever midah, whatever measure Hashem measures out to me, bein midah taiva, where there's obviously blessing, is obviously good, family, health, good finances, friends, community, bein midah puranut, or whether Hashem is extracting payment from me for something I have to pay a debt for. What should my response be? Whether it's the good or not good, be exceedingly, exceedingly grateful. This is learned from the words, to love Hashem b'chol me'odecha. B'chol me'odecha means b'chol ma'monecha, with all your possessions. B'chol me'odecha means with all your ma'od, which the Shlach HaKodesh tells us is Oishes Adam, which means with all your talent. Adam is Lashon Adama. With all your raw talent, serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with all the gifts, the talents He's given you. Dava Acher, says the Mishnah, B'chol midah u'midah shu moeded lecha havi moeded lo b'moed moed. Be exceedingly, exceedingly grateful no matter what Hashem meets out to me. So really, number 1 of this is that when things go wrong, Hashem wants me not to be anything other than grateful. Level 2 of this is that if it bothers me, what should I do? So Hashem tells me, control my thoughts. Don't let it bother you. That's easier said than done in most cases, because I'm really bothered by it. But what I have to realize is that what's bothering me is not it's what I'm thinking. That's really the Nakuda. There's no Olam Hazeh, it's an illusion. It's not Olam Hazeh acting on me, it's what I'm saying inside of myself that's interpreting Olam Hazeh incorrectly. It may be an innocent misinterpretation of Olam Hazeh, because I take Olam Hazeh too seriously. So Hashem really wants me, number 1, be exceedingly, exceedingly grateful. And even though that sounds like it's a midah of a chassid or a tzaddik, nevertheless it's paskin and Shulchan Aruch. In Reish Chaf Beis, I think it's Sif Gimel there, Chayav Adam levarech al hara kishem levarech al taiva. And Chazal say, you have to make the same bracha on ra as you do on taiva with the same simcha. But Isa Simcha, that's remarkable. Yeah, that's the Mishnah and the Gemara in Brachas right at the end then. And Shulchan Aruch. So it's not talking about Hasidim and Tzaddikim, it's talking about you and I. Everybody. Chayav Adam. It doesn't say Chayav Chasid, Chayav Tzaddik. No, Chayav Adam. So that's number one. Number two of this is that if I'm really struggling, I'm not up to the madrega of being grateful when things don't go right. So Hashem said, okay, at least try and control your thoughts by not driving yourself nuts. In other words, don't think about it. And if I can't help but think about what it is that person has done to me, and I can't be quiet, I can't be mavir al midoisai, I can't let go and be mavater and a vatran and be moichel so easily, so then I should shoot for the next thing, which is don't judge them. Now, don't judging them has several madrigas. Number one, Chazal tell us in Pirkei Avos, Ein dan yechidi el echad. Al tadin yechidi, don't be a judge on your own. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only judge. Now, even though you can say that's referring specifically to judges on Beis Din, you can't have one, you have to have at least three. But it's also referring to every person in every situation that we are, to remind ourselves, you're the only real judge. So number one, I'm not here to judge you. So before I go to Tochacha, which we're going to get to, before I get to Tochacha, I should first explore, can I let go? Can I be honest? This is coming from you and I'm grateful. Whoa, that's a high madrega. Well, actually, it's chayav adam. Every single person has to. If I can't, well, can I just let go of that thinking so it doesn't bother me? Well, that'd be great. Or if I still can't do that, then go to the next one, which is, I'm not meant to be judging you because Hashem is the real judge and no one else is. No, Hashem did not make me your policeman. I might be your guardian in the classroom, as your Rebbe, so safety comes first. But where does it say in the Torah that I'm supposed to be your policeman? Or policewoman, if I'm your Mora? Or arbitrator or judge, if you have a sichsuch and you come to me and I'm supposed to say who's right and who's wrong? We're going to see in the mitzvah of Tochacha, there's none of that. And actually it's very liberating because now, once I know as a teacher, one of my roles is not to be arbitrator. When kids have a sichsuch, I'm here to help the children resolve this on their own. I've got to give them the guidelines, and we're going to talk about that formula, the formula of Tochacha, the mitzvah of Tochacha, how it really works in the classroom. It's very simple. It's only 3 steps. We're going to see it very soon. But before I get to Tochacha, in my own life, Hashem wants me to realize if I can't be moida, to be exceedingly grateful when things go not so well, then at least try not to think about it. If I still can't think about it, well, don't judge other people because I was not appointed their policeman. I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. And that's what the Mishnah is saying. Ein dan ela echad. Only Hashem is the only dayan. If I can't control myself and I still want to be done on you, so go to another Mishnah, still in Pirkei Avos, which says, Al tadin et chaverecha, don't judge your friend, ad shetagir limkaimai. Oh good, now I can judge him. What's the tanai? What's the condition? Well, first I've got to get into his shoes. I've got to be in his place. Ha ha ha. Do you know anybody in world history who was ever in the exact shoes as another person? Same education, same background, same parents, same siblings, same mindset, same thinking? Nobody. In other words, Chazal, in an indirect way, are really saying, Al tadin et chaverecha ad, don't judge anybody, your friend, until, oh good, I can, but what's the until? You're in their shoes. You'll never be in their shoes. Never. Ever. It never ever happened in world history and never will. So it's just another way of Chazal telling me it's not my place to judge another person. Okay, but let's say I'm not even that madrega, and I still it really bothers me. So then I should go for the next level. It's still in Pirkei Avos. This is one in Perek Aleph, Mishnah Vav. Havidanet kol ha'adam lechavschus. That if I'm going to judge you, I should judge you favorably. Interesting. You see, the Torah is basically telling me I'm not here to judge anybody. And so, when does the mitzvah of Tochacha really apply? So the answer is, if I can't be silent and I can't stop thinking I've got to police you or tell you what's right or what's wrong, it's hard for me to be silent and not do anything about it. Okay, so now you give the mitzvah. Now you have the mitzvah of Tochacha. What's the mitzvah of Tochacha? Now, I'm talking not about where you see someone do something against Hashem or someone else. It's not about where you're seeing someone do something against you. L'chatchila should be mevater, let go, be moited to Hashem that whatever happens to me is, if I can, if it's real for me. If I can't stop judging. But if I still can't get there, then I go to the mitzvah Teichacha. What's the mitzvah of Teichacha? So says Rambam in Hilchos Deis, I think it's in Perek Vav, tells us the mitzvah Teichacha is really two possible ways of doing mitzvah Teichacha. Lama asita kacha. Why did you do that? The mitzvah of Teichacha is to ask why. Now it's interesting that in that mitzvah there are several Tanaim. Rambam tells me it's got to be said benachas with a gentle, soft voice, and kol raka means it's not loud. So if I'm angry, I'm potter. I don't have the mitzvah. If I'm coming from anger, disappointment, resentment, it's going to show, and that's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah has to be where I'm doing this because you're my friend, and I want you to get olam haba, and I don't want you to get punished for what you did or said, and I can't control myself, meaning I can't go into be moed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that this happened to me. It still bothers me, and I can't be done. So I've got the mitzvah of Teichacha, and in this context, the mitzvah of Teichacha is a very simple question: Lama asita kacha, my friend, why did you do this? Rambam offers that as one possibility, and the second possibility is a slightly different wording: Lama chatata li b'dava ploni. Why did you do this mistake? Chet is a mistake; it's not a mazid. Why did you do this mistake? In such and such a thing. So it's very interesting. I'm not accusing you, I'm asking you for clarity. You remember they said the lashon of Teichach is birur dvarim. If I have an accusative voice, a tone of voice that suggests I know that you're wrong and I'm right, so already the whole mitzvah of Teichach falls away. If I'm angry, it falls away. In fact, Chazal tell us that Rabbi Tarfon said to Maheni, I would be surprised if there's anybody B'dar Hazeh in this generation, that's 2,000 years ago, it's a Tana, an author of the Mishnah. Rabbi Tarfon is saying, I would be shocked if there's anybody in this generation who can be Mekabel Teichacha. And then Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said to Maheni, I would be shocked, surprised, if there's anybody in this generation who can give Teichacha. So you have to take that into account as well. But we're going to apply the mitzvah Teichacha as the formula is in Chazal and Rambam, and apply it into the classroom. It's super simple, but I'm just giving you the background. There are essentially three conditions. There are a few more, but they don't always apply. Number one, pleasant voice, beloshen nachas v'rakos, and soft, so it's not loud, it's not angry, it's not screaming. Why did you do this to me? Almost chaveri, my friend, lam asita kacha. Why did you, achi, my brother, lam asita kach v'kach. Why did you do this? And the third tonight, which is really important, and that is what Rambam tells us, it's got to be private. It has to not be in front of other people, so that I don't get the other part of the same pasuk. I have to give a mitzvah. I have the mitzvah Teichacha, but I shouldn't also get a chet. What's lo tisa alav chet? That I shouldn't do it in a way that causes an aveira. What type of aveira? Actually, it's a really, really terrible aveira. Is that I actually end up humiliating you. And if I do it in a way that humiliates you, like in front of people, or humiliate yourself in front of yourself, it's not good. In fact, Pirkei Avos tells us that kol amal bin pnei chaveroi berabim. If Chas v'shalom I embarrass you in public, then Malkus is way too kind. Lashes, that's much too nice. How about Misas Beis Din? No, it's way too nice. Misas Beis Din? The death penalty from Beis Din, that's too nice? Yeah, the retribution, the ramifications for being malbim pnei chaver barabim, embarrassing someone in public, is ein lo chelek olam haba. He lost his eternity. Woo, oh, whoa, that's a biggie. Yeah, so the pasuk is warning me that if I can't do Teichacha without Tanai, you don't want to go there. I mean, there's so much at stake. It's just not worth it. Actually, if you look at the Bir Halacha, I think it's there, Bir Halacha in Taf Reish Ches, you will see that it talks there, the Chavetz Chaim brings the Gra and the Smag, who both agree that if you're dealing with people that you know are not going to listen to you, then you don't have the mitzvah of Teichacha. Even if they're doing Averas B'mezid, the Mishnah Berurah quotes the smug, even if they're doing mitzvahs, averas b'mezid, deliberately, there's no mitzvah of tochacha, and it applies to the Gemara in Yevama Samachay, which tells us mitzvah loy ma'adava shenishma. It's a mitzvah to say something that will be listened to, and a mitzvah shaloi loymad, and it's a mitzvah to not say dava shaloi nishma, something that will not be listened to. And then, according to a different opinion, chayev. You have a chiyuv not to say something that will not be listened to. So we see that the mitzvah of tochacha is not so simple, but in the classroom there is a context for teaching children how to do this mitzvah in a way that will help them resolve conflict, help them resolve problems. So welcome to 3.0, where we are going to look at the practical applications of the mitzvah of tochacha. How do you apply tochacha in the classroom? So 3.1 of this, very simple. The tochacha formula is only 3 steps. There's a fourth one which we will look at, but really it's only 3 steps, 3 very simple steps. And we're going to role model these steps for the children so that it will be extremely clear to them in advance what to do when conflict surfaces. Step number 1, ask the question, what happened? Here comes Ruvain complaining about Shimon. Ruvain, what happened? Ruvain's crying. We're going to do scenarios in a few minutes. So, step number 1, collect information. That's step number 1. Collect information. What happened? In step number 1, you do not want to go into more than 2 generations of accusations. So, Ruvain says, Shimon called me dumb. And Shimon says, yeah, well, that's because you tore my picture. And that's 2 generations. You call me dumb, generation, accusation 1. Yeah, but that's because, and now we're going back in time, that explains the cause of me calling you dumb is because you tore up my picture. And now, generation number 3, we do not want to go to generation number 3, but might be something like, well, that's because in recess you didn't let me be on your team. So, and then he's going to back and say, well, that's because your father is always late for the couple. And, before you know it, you and I, as teachers, Moras, are being dragged into the role of arbitrator, and we're going to talk about that. It's extremely important to avoid. So, in collecting information, step number 1, ask what happened. Just 2 words, what happened? You can do it with some concern and empathy, of course, and if he's crying, you can show in your facial expression your empathy for the fact that he's hurt, pained, upset, but the most important piece here is I'm just collecting the information, and I don't want to go any further than 2 generations of accusation. Step number 2, ask each of them, did they do the right thing to ... fill in the blank. Shimon, did you do the right thing to call Ruvain dumb? He obviously knows the answer is no, and he's probably going to say, no, but he tore out my picture. And we're going to get to what to do next, but you want to stay focused. This is super simple. I hope I'm not making it more complicated than it really is. It's super simple. Step 1, collect information. Step 2, ask, did they do the right thing to call him dumb? Ruvain, did you do the right thing to tear up Shimon's paper, his beautiful picture? Don't go to a 3rd generation, keep it to 2. Because you want them to focus not on the severity of the crime or the frequency of the crime. You want to focus purely on the mitzvah of tochacha, which is birur dvarim. Remember, we're collecting information, we're clarifying the issue, and get the children to make shalom in 3 steps. It's so simple. Collect information. Did you do the right thing to spit, to call him a name, to hit him? The kids know the answer to that. And you're staying with that question. Yeah, I know it's not the right thing, but, and then they go into the 2nd generation or 3rd generation of accusation. Just keep back to the question, did you do the right thing to call him a name? No. Once you've got their admission, and you'll get it, step 3 is, what do you think you should do if you do something wrong? Apologize. So those are the 3 steps. That's all it is. After they apologize, we'll show you how we ask Ruvain, do you forgive Shimon? And Shimon, do you forgive Ruvain? Because we're going to ask Ruvain, did you do the right thing to tear up the picture? No, but he didn't let me play in recess with his team. Again, don't get sucked into generation number 3 of accusations. Stay with number 2. Because it's not about, and we're going to talk about this, it's extremely important. It's not about you falling into the role of being adjudicator, arbitrator, judge, policeman, Get away from all that. Don't get sucked into that. And the children don't want you to. We're going to see at least 9 reasons why you don't want to go there. The children want you as an adult to teach them how to resolve conflict. And we're going to do that by role modeling for them. So those are the 3 steps. Very, very simple. Collect information. What happened? Did you do the right thing to fill in the blank? Did you do the right thing to fill in the blank? What do you think you should do? It's all questions. It's never accusations, and it's very important that I, as the teacher, don't give the impression, either in my facial expression, what happened? Like, I'm fed up. This is happening all the time. That's really what I'm saying with my tone of voice and my facial expression. And now the kid already, he wants to tell me that he was called dumb, but he knows that the teacher's already in a mood about it. Don't be accusative. Shimon, come here. How many times have I told you to stop calling names? I'm fed up with you. No, that's not Birur Dvarim. That's what we usually translate as reprimand and tell off or rebuke. And none of those are the correct translation for the word Tochacha, which, as we've seen, is Birur Dvarim. Simply clarify what's going on. But the clarity is in order to get to Shalom. So those are the 3 steps. The 4th step, which we will touch upon, and I'll elaborate later, but you don't do it in the midst of Tochacha. It's only 3 steps. You keep it super simple. After they've apologized to each other, ask them if they accept each other's apologies, shake hands, hug if it's appropriate, and they'll bounce back into life, back into recess, back into the classroom. Children have this incredible resilience and ability to quickly bounce back into life. We adults carry on thinking about what that person did to me, Natira, bear a grudge. And it's harder for us to erase the memory of things people said or did against us. So we end up being more sophisticated in how we won't forget or let you off the hook so easily. Children will bounce back. We want them bouncing back because there's been a resolution. There's been a closure, if you want to call it, on the conflict that they brought to the attention of the teacher in the first place. But the goal is to role model this enough times, and I'm going to give you a few scenarios, role model it enough times so that the child is able to do this on their own. They know exactly the 3 steps to go through, and the person they're calling to give Tochacha, Birur Dvarim, to clarify matters, also knows the 3 steps that they have to go through with their friend. So in the step 4, which we will elaborate upon, it's a reflective step, meaning to say that when the children are ready, you can ask Shimon, remember what happened yesterday or earlier today with Ruvain when you called him dumb and Ruvain complained that you tore his, and you made shalom. It was really beautiful. How else could you have responded when he tore your paper up? So what you're getting Shimon to reflect on is, now that the conflict has been dumped in history and erased, it happened, it's finished, we've made shalom, we're moving forward, we can reflect on it without emotion and bringing the whole thing up again, because it's past, it's finished. That's why I'm saying step 4 is not part of the 3 steps of Tochacha. It really belongs with some sort of pause, delay, or if you see the children have immediately recovered, then maybe you'll see it's appropriate, if they've got maturity, to ask how else could you have responded instead of calling him a name or tearing up his picture. And then the children will come up with their own creative scenarios of how else they could have responded. That's really important. We're going to talk about that much later. So those are the 4 steps, but really 3. Okay, 3.2 of this is very simple. Rebbe, Mora, who are you and who are you not? I have to identify my role in the classroom. Yeah, I know I'm here to teach, I'm here to facilitate learning. Really, I should say facilitate learning and teach. But no, I have to gift the children as well and facilitate the learning. But here's the real question we need to ask. Am I also policeman Rebbe, policewoman Mora? Am I really also a judge and arbitrator, which is so easily a role I will fall into and get trapped in when a child comes to me with a complaint about what happened to him in recess or in the class, tore up my homework, scribbled over my picture, walked over my materials, whatever their complaint is. It's so easy for me to fall into the trap of thinking, okay, so now what I have to do is find out the truth. What really happened? And in that role, I can so easily get trapped into finding out 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations of accusations, 4 generations of accusations, and then I've got to figure out who's more right than the other and adjudicate some sort of system of justice, punishment. And what ends up happening is that we are so off course. We've completely been decoyed by the mistaken assumption that my role, when you tell me something's terrible happened to you and you're crying and you're almost breathless with Shimon called me ugly. No, and I get so caught up in the trauma and the dramatization of it all that I've got to punish Shimon. This is not the first time he's called Sarah ugly. This is ridiculous. He's got to stop it. And then I become the policeman and the judge and the arbitrator, and don't go there. This is the mitzvah Tochacha is not to judge and identify who's right and who's wrong. Well, we're not even interested in the type of crime, or the severity of the crime, or even the frequency of the crime. The moment we go there, we get sucked into judgmentally taking a role of policing the children. And that is terrible, because I'm inviting the children to come to me in that role every time. So I'm actually perpetuating the problem, that instead of me helping them resolve conflict themselves by role modeling Tochacha, with those 3 steps that we just mentioned, which we're gonna give you scenarios coming up soon. Hold on tight. But instead of me doing that, I'm falling into a completely different role, and I'm training the children to come to me every time they have a conflict. So it ends up, it's going to erode their trust in me. You know why? Because I'm going to make 1 right and 1 wrong, so one's a winner, one's a loser, and then they start learning to be street smart with Rebbe Mora, because now what they've got to do is persuade the authority in their lives as to who's more right, who's more wrong, who to have favor with, who to be in disfavor with. And so I'm good, he's bad. I'm victim, he's the bully. And we end up actually feeding a problem as opposed to resolving it at the root, which is not what was said or done that was wrong, but to get the kids to admit on their own that what they did or said was wrong, and figure out, what do I do next? Oh, if I do something wrong, I have to apologize. Yeah, but there's another generation here, because I just didn't call him dumb in isolation. It's because he tore up my picture. But if the children have already seen that we go through these 3 steps, and in those 3 steps, guess what? Reuven is also going to have to apologize for tearing up his picture. Shimon is not saying sorry in isolation of the reason why he called him dumb in the first place. Do you follow the logic here? If you follow these 3 steps, super simple, the children in advance will know that when they come to you and you listen and adjudicate, you're not going to go into the judgment mode. You're just simply going to facilitate through these 3 questions. What happened? Did you do the right thing to call him a name? Did you do the right thing to hurt him, hit him, whatever it was? And then what should you do when you do something wrong? And just from your body language, your tone of voice, and your facial expression, and the choice of words, the children will know that you're not falling into the trap of policing them, or becoming their adjudicator and judge and arbitrator or advocate or lawyer. This is not a Beis Din. I do not want to be thinking that I've got a mini Beis Din in my classroom. For a real Beis Din, you need witnesses, and the witnesses themselves have to be kosher witnesses, and the witnesses, 2 witnesses, it can't be 1, and they have to jive. There has to be an alignment of their report of what they both saw, and it's their separate realities coming together, and that will create a fact. So in Beis Din, they have to adjudicate justice, whether you want to call it a punishment or the ramifications of the behavior. But in the classroom, punishment is really meant to be a completely last resort. It doesn't belong as my first choice. First choice is the mitzvah Tochacha. The first choice is to clarify what happened and help the child know inside himself that the way I handled it was not right. That is the only thing we're looking at, not the crime, severity, frequency, how bad the crime is. No, we're looking at how did you handle it, and did you handle it right? If you didn't, then what's the right thing to do? Apologize. I should never have torn your beautiful picture. I'm sorry, Shimon. And Ruvain apologized. I should never have called you dumb, or whichever way it is. Get the kids to recognize their own mistake.